So I kind of had the idea with my friend who's a mathematician. I was kind of like, how can we make 16 numbers just much easier for the everyday person? And we came up with this idea, which is that if you divide the world into 3 meter squares, and there's 57 trillion 3 meter squares around the world, there's enough combinations of 3 words, so random dictionary words like table, chair, spoon, that you can name every 3 meter square in the world uniquely with just 3 words. So if I say to somebody, can you come to the gig today at table, chair, spoon, all they've got to do is type that or speak that to their phone, their car, and now people can navigate very accurately, very simply anywhere in the world.
Well, the way we get around, the way we find things on the planet, it's traditionally we use street addresses. We might use geographic location and the degrees north, minutes, west, that kind of thing. A very clever company called What3Words decided on a much, in my view, better system of addressing the planet, finding things easier all over the planet, and they've come up with their own system. It works, it's very clever, and just recently a person was saved in the Tasmanian wilderness somewhat because they were able to use this mechanism of location-based services to have the emergency services people come and fish this person out of the wilderness. It's a very clever piece of technology. We're very lucky today to be joined by the CEO of What3Words, Chris Sheldrick. How are you, Chris?
Very good, thanks. Very good. Pleasure to be here, Charlie. Thanks.
Look, you're coming to us from London, and we're obviously in Sydney, Australia. You're working from home like everybody else is. It's a very smooth connection, and we will get some bit of pixelation as we chat to you. But I do have so many questions about What3Words. I mean, we know that it came about because the creators wanted a more effective way of you sending people to specific locations. Is that where it came from?
Yeah, so I actually used to work in the music business and traveled a lot around the world for 10 years or so. And basically, wherever we went to do our gigs, our concerts, the address never actually got us to the right place. And sometimes that was trying to get to like the back entrance of Wembley Stadium. Sometimes it was trying to get to a villa in Italy up some kind of country road. And so I kind of just abolished addresses because they always, people were always on the phone going, I'm totally lost. I tried getting people to input the latitude and longitude, the GPS coordinates, into their mapping app or their car or whatever they were using. And basically just found that musicians were very unreliable when it came to accurately typing in this big 16-digit number. And so I kind of had the idea with my friend who's a mathematician. I was kind of like, how can we make 16 numbers just much easier for the everyday person? And we came up with this idea, which is that if you divide the world into 3 meter squares, and there's 57 trillion 3 meter squares around the world, there's enough combinations of 3 words, so random dictionary words like table, chair, spoon, that you can name every 3 meter square in the world uniquely with just 3 words. So if I say to somebody, can you come to the gig today at table, chair, spoon, all they've got to do is type that or speak that to their phone, their car, and now people can navigate very accurately, very simply anywhere in the world.
That's the thing about it, though, right? At the moment, we always use street addresses. But look, one day if we're flying in a car, for example, just say cars fly, or we're going to a location where there is actually no streets, then the whole idea of the street address is the worst idea possible for trying to get to a particular location. And I feel what you're saying about those music concerts. I'm always like, yeah, just stand next to the third information sign on the right-hand side of the stage and be there at this time and I'll meet you there. I mean, it's a ridiculous way of getting to a particular location, knowing the right location to be at. So you split the whole planet, land and water, so you can use What3Words regardless of what kind of vehicle you're in, or where you're actually trying to go, be it earth, be it land or water.
Yeah, that's it. We included the oceans as well. We actually just use much more long and complicated words in the sea because we now have so many users there, but that's okay. So you might find words like dodecahedron knocking around in the sea. But yeah, it's it's kind of funny when you think back, like street addresses are just something that we've kind of inherited from like the 17th or 16th century. And it's kind of really, just complicated for devices. Like in London, we've got 35 roads, all called Victoria Road. If you're starting from scratch now, you just wouldn't do that because you would know it would cause confusion for people and devices. You do it uniquely. So I think we've just kind of stripped it all back and gone, actually, why don't we just start with something which is simple, works everywhere in the world, and takes out all of that confusion.
The other thing is that some places in the world, like some of those villages, and there's all sorts of places where using the street address is just a ridiculous idea. So this is a very, very clever idea. So let's then look at applications. I mean, you've got emergency services which are sort of suggesting to people trapped or lost in the wilderness to try and use this technology. So we know that you can adapt to use it very, very quickly. But you've got to deal with Mercedes-Benz. You've got other deals that you could do with plane companies and car companies. Is that the future of this?
Yeah, so I think for us, the mission is about making What3Words a global standard. So wherever you see 3 words, you know exactly what you can do, and you should be able to put it into anything that you use in your everyday life. And I think we just often take for granted that we use addresses all the time. You know, when you order something online, you're putting your address in so they know where to make the delivery to. You're absolutely right. We have a deal with Mercedes-Benz because people really get annoyed with their car navigation system. Sometimes you've got to sort of twist those dials to put in addresses letter by letter. And with Mercedes, you can just speak the 3 words straight into the car and it'll now take you exactly there. Emergency services, it's a really big problem that they don't know where people are a lot of the time. The technology to automatically track your phone just isn't widespread yet. And it's essential, you know, when every second counts, that somebody is able to explain where they are and they don't have to sort of use landmarks. Because if you're out in the bush or some huge expanse, it can be really complicated to communicate that location. Even drones, people making drone software are now starting to use us because, again, it's just very annoying to have to input all those coordinates and mistakes are made. So I think it's just every single way that we use an address. And, you know, I actually lived in Australia for 6 months or so, and my address was on the Pacific Highway, but then this road like spanned, I think, into several either states or areas. And it was just, the whole thing was a bit of a confusing mess for me who was like new to the area. So I think, yeah, we just want people to be able to use us like you would a normal address. And as you see those 3 words, it just becomes totally natural for people.
You've got the ability to adapt and start using the technology really, really quickly, though. I mean, if I can be lost in the wilderness and have an emergency services person saying, "Hey, you know, I'm gonna push you this piece of technology to your phone, and I want you to use it," you can start using it so quickly. Was that one of the goals as well?
Yeah, I think so. It was a case of, you know, if we're going to start something which is a standard, it must be very simple. So a child to a grandparent must be able to understand the system very fast and then be able to immediately use it. So that's why there's just this free app called What3Words. And as soon as you get it, you should just be able to click a button and see the 3 words for where you are or anywhere on that map. And then it's all about just being able to speak it, hear it, write it down. We knew that the system had to feel very intuitive and not feel like a kind of complex geographic thing that might not be for you. This is for the everyday person who may not be that good at maps or coordinates or even know what they are or how they work. It's truly got to be something that everybody can use, and I feel that we've achieved that.
So the next question is, how do you make money out of this? Because if I can use the app for free, I mean, is it licensing? Are you going to different companies and saying, "Hey, integrate our technology into the way that you're getting places now, you'll be able to get there better." People who need you to get to there will be able to more easily tell you the locations to go to. But you know, you own the technology. Is it you're licensing to all to hope to license it to all these other sort of organizations and have them using it too? Is that how the business is going to grow into the future?
That's right. So, you know, addresses are monetized today to businesses, big businesses who use them at high volume. But for everyday people, we don't pay for addresses. And similarly, you don't pay for What3Words. It's totally free for people. It's totally free for the emergency services. Who we charge are people like Mercedes because they're used to licensing address data in the cars. So for them to also license with us, is quite straightforward. So I think for normal people, they don't have to even think about anything to do with monetization. They should be able to think about What3Words as something they can use for free.
Where to next? Because you're talking about cars and drones and big businesses and I mean the world is looking for that savior for more efficient logistics, isn't it? I mean it's really looking for that way of being the most efficient way of getting a thing from here to there and accurately, and the more times that you deliver something, the more cost. I mean, is that an area that you're working on with companies as well to be more efficient with their logistics?
That's right. We've moved into the e-commerce and logistics world, and particularly in the last couple of months, since so many small companies who've had to close their retail outlets are now doing delivery. We've seen a surge of activity, and we have basically it's called a widget, and you just put it on your e-commerce checkout page, and it will encourage people to put in their 3-word address. That can then go through to the logistics company, who then know exactly where to make that delivery. And especially at the moment, so many more people are doing deliveries, they don't know the area. So to have a 3-word address that they can just show up at the 3-meter square, and the person who's ordered has the sort of, you feel safe that it's actually going to reach you. You're not going to get called by someone saying that they're kind of in the next door village or something because there was a error or confusion with your address. So I think for us, scaling that is now a big priority. There are people in many countries in the world, and we've actually seen a bunch of activity now in Australia because we've had some usage from your emergency services there, which has now brought a lot of people to come and talk to us and go, actually, how can I use this? Maybe in something unrelated like e-commerce and logistics in Australia, a lot of people doing drone things. So I think it's often one use case, makes people think and it resonates, and then somebody else from a totally different, unrelated space gets in touch with us. But yes, e-commerce and logistics, there's a huge opportunity, even here in the UK, where addresses are meant to work pretty well. That entire sector still really struggles, and I'm sure it must be the same in Australia.
It is the same because we've got a much larger country with a lot more open space as well. So the other thing, the final question I wanted to ask you is: are you working to get a What3Words address added to calendar applications and things like that? Not calendar, contacts applications. So Exchange and Google contacts and all those kinds of things. Because I imagine that you really want the What3Word address to be as synonymous as a street address.
That's right. And you mentioned contacts and calendar. I mean, in every calendar invitation I send, there's a 3-word address. And I think for a lot of other people too. I mean, people put it into their email signature. They're integrating into their contact us page. It's just that thing that you can now give people aside from your phone number. A 3-word address is pretty easy to paste into anything. So all of our fans and users are actively promoting the system by doing that. And of course, we'd love down the line to get those native and integrations into the software too. But I think just as a user, it's very easy to promote it and put it into the things that you use in your daily life.
Well, we all remember words a lot better than we do numbers, and the What3Words is a great way of learning and sharing and remembering different addresses of locations on the planet and doing it in a very, very cool way. It is a very, very clever piece of technology. Chris Sheldrick, CEO of What3Words, thanks for joining us today. And look, best of luck with the technology. It's very clever what you're doing. We hope you do well and wish you all the success.
Pleasure. Thanks so much, Charlie.